clinical trials nightmare. I always advise people to think twice before doing clinical trials for money. They don't pay enough for what you endure, and the side effects can be severe. Usually, the drugs cause headaches or mild nausea, but sometimes it gets much worse. Nothing in my years of monitoring trials was as bad as what happened last week. I tried to warn them. Every board meeting, I insisted we stop cutting costs on lab rat testing and development. But the higher-ups always thought they knew better. They'd tell me, "Our scientists know what they're doing," or "I've been here 3 years, and the other supervisors have been here 10+ years without complaints." It was frustrating, and I knew it would blow up in our faces eventually. I just didn't think it would be this bad. It started last Monday. We began clinical trials of a new heart disease drug called Albusil. It was advertised as a breakthrough with noticeable effects in just a few days, which is fast for any drug. I was curious to see if it was true. As far as I knew, it had only one round of testing before this, and this was the first human trial. The results from rat tests were classified, so I didn't think much of it. Our subjects varied in age from 12 to 80 and had heart disease ranging from early signs to severe cases. They all shared the goal of advancing treatment, a sentiment I could get behind. This trial would last a week. Patients had rooms and 3 meals a day. The other 2 supervisors covered the day and evening shifts, and I took the overnight shift. I didn't want to work nights, but it was my turn. The drug was supposed to kick in on the 3rd day, so we had to monitor the patient's improvement throughout the week. It sounds simpler than it is because patient behavior complicates things. They sign a contract saying they can't leave until the trial ends, with clauses for medical evacuation, which isn't legal, but it's how we operate. Security ensures compliance, but patients often get upset and can become physical if they can't leave. It's the toughest part of any trial, especially with a supposedly monumental drug like this. The first night went smoothly. Most patients treated me with respect, and those who needed me were polite. We didn't see any negative signs or changes in patients' vitals. The same went for the second day, except for one odd incident at 4 a.m. The call button directed me to an older lady's room. Miss Margaret, in her mid-60s, had a severe case of heart disease but was sweet. I was concerned, so I hurried to her room. She was sitting upright in bed, looking at me. "Miss Margaret, what's going on? Are you okay?" "Where are my fingers?" I was confused. Her hands seemed fine. I reassured her. "Miss Margaret, your fingers are right here. I can't see them. Can you make them come back?" I counted her fingers in front of her. She smiled. "Oh. There they are. Thank you, dear." I was unsettled. Was she hallucinating? Maybe, but I'd never seen it this severe. Could it be an undiagnosed issue unrelated to Albusil? Possibly. I decided to consult the other supervisors and put it in my report. As long as she wasn't in danger, there was nothing more I could do. The next day, I panicked. I got 16 calls during the night. Over half of the 30 patients experienced negative effects. The unsettling part was that every call was the same. Patients claimed missing body parts, fingers, toes, tongues, but nothing was actually gone. They'd lost sensation in those areas. I contacted the emergency doctor on duty, who was irritated but came downstairs. Together, we examined the patients and agreed to call an emergency meeting. The doctor suggested I take the next night off and rest, advocating for ending the trial. I shouldn't have agreed. The trial continued because they found no evidence of danger. I was done not being listened to and spoke up. I can't do this anymore, Jim. These people are in danger. They think they're losing limbs. Isn't that dangerous? It's all in their heads. We're on the verge of a breakthrough drug. If these are the side effects, we can't release it. It's against everything we stand for. We can't replace you on short notice. Stay, or I'll make sure you never work in this field again. This discussion is over. My phone clicked. I was furious. I couldn't afford to be blacklisted but couldn't watch people suffer. I decided to return to work but call the emergency doctor for every bad incident. If I couldn't stop the tests, I'd keep a close eye on the patients. The next night, everything collapsed. Every patient had a problem. One man dragged himself through the hall, screaming about missing legs. Another had to be restrained for bashing his head, claiming missing eyes and ears. They all said something was coming to take them away, piece by piece, taunting them in their sleep. I called the police, begging for help, barely holding back tears. It had to be the medication. When the police arrived, they didn't help. As I walked to open the door, everything behind it went dark. I tried pulling it open, but it wouldn't budge. The police chief informed me that the building was quarantined. I barely heard him. Something was seriously wrong. I was ordered to stay behind the desk and wait for medical professionals. I felt like vomiting and preferred being near a trash can. The screaming and pounding on walls and doors were feverish, like escaping a fire. Then it stopped. Everything went quiet. My call button went off from the outside buzzer. I thought it was the hazmat team. Hello? Just breathing. Hello? I've arrived. The voice was unfamiliar and made me sick. I cleared my throat. Who is this? I am going to enter. I clicked the receiver off. The outside door creaked open. Flesh slapped against the floor, echoing. It wasn't a man in a hazmat suit, a cop, or a doctor. It was something vile, with gangrenous skin, dragging its head. Its eyes, one blue and one brown, stared at me. It looked like hastily stitched body parts. It grumbled. I stepped back towards the desk, staring. The building was sealed. No way out. It stopped and spoke in the same voice from the intercom. You are afraid. Yes, fear not. I am not here for you. It pointed at me with a red-tipped finger. We will meet again. Yes. I know it. For you, there are still many things to see. I closed my eyes, tears welling up. The lights turned off. I opened my eyes, prepared for horror. They found me passed out in the office. In each patient's room, only corpses remained. One without legs, another without eyes and tongue. Miss Margaret was missing her fingers. I've been locked in my cell for days. They say I killed them all, that there was no monster. The company testifies against me, saying I went crazy. They claim it had to be me because the placebo group wouldn't hallucinate. In the summer of 1995, my buddy Sam and I were living the high life, running contraband through the dusty backroads of the Southwest. We had it all: maps to navigate the labyrinthine routes, police scanners to stay ahead of the law, souped-up cars with nitrous oxide systems, and contingency plans that would make a CIA operative proud. Life was exhilarating, dangerous, and lucrative, ideal for two reckless young men in their early 20s. That blistering July, we embarked on what should have been a routine run. From the get-go, we sensed trouble. A rusty old pickup, a blue Ford, seemed to shadow us. At first, we dismissed it as paranoia, but the nagging feeling persisted. Every stop, every turn, that damn truck was there. When we paused at a lonely gas station on the second day, we contacted our supplier, Phil, a paranoid ex-Marine with connections everywhere. He assured us no one knew our route but promised to look into it. On the third day, Sam was behind the wheel as we tore through the desert. It was an uneventful stretch until we pulled into a decrepit roadside diner for a break. While Sam filled up the tank, I went inside to grab some food. As I returned, a burly man in a flannel shirt approached Sam. In a blink, a second man, his face obscured by a baseball cap, was beside me, shoving a cold metal barrel into my ribs. "Get in the back," he snarled. I complied, feeling the familiar sting of fear. The man from the front now sat beside me, his gun never wavering from my side. Sam glanced at me in the rearview mirror, his eyes wide with terror. The truck that had been tailing us roared past, its occupants clearly satisfied with our capture. Our captors barked directions, each word laced with violence. Sam and I knew our fate was sealed if we followed their orders to the end. In a moment of sheer desperation, Sam initiated one of our more drastic contingency plans. He jammed the accelerator and screamed, "Belt! Belt!" I reached for the front man's belt, but he had never buckled up. The car swerved wildly, my body crushed against the door by the man next to me as he tried to subdue me. The impact was bone-crunching. I blacked out for a moment, waking to the smell of gasoline and the sound of groaning metal. The man beside me was half ejected through the windshield, his body convulsing with shallow breaths. I stumbled out, my head throbbing. The front passenger was sprawled on the ground, motionless. Sam was still in the driver's seat, his leg grotesquely pinned by the crumpled dashboard. With immense effort, I freed Sam and shouldered him away from the wreck. We avoided any sign of civilization, stumbling upon an abandoned cabin deep in the woods. With my gun ready, I cleared the place before dragging Sam inside. We contacted Phil again, who assured us help was on the way. Hours passed in a tense, agonizing wait. When Phil's men finally arrived, they whisked us away to an undisclosed location. There, a group of old-school mobsters greeted us. Their gratitude was unnerving. I had expected retribution, not thanks. They paid us in full, then issued a stern warning to stay out of the state. Dumped in a nameless urban sprawl, we were left to find our way back to familiar faces. The nightmare didn't end there. The faces of those men, their cold eyes and brutal efficiency, haunted me. I feared retaliation from our unknown assailants, but even more, I feared our former employers deciding to tie up loose ends. The paranoia consumed me, eroding my sense of safety. I quit driving, the trauma too fresh, the nightmares too real. The summer of '95 left scars deeper than any wound, a constant reminder of how close we had come to the end.